Hi, everyone. My name's Aaron Heidenbreicht, and I'm the VP of FDMC and Specialty across North America for Nutrabolt. I've been in the space and in the industry for over 15 years with a sports background, and I will be discussing a few key topics today. Of those, we'll be talking about innovation in amino acid formulations. We'll be talking about the performance benefits of those formulations and what's on trend and what's being commercialized. And then lastly, we'll close with line extensions and how to capitalize on hero placement, hero SKUs, really focused on doing more with less, with a few highlighted examples to kind of leave you with. To kickstart, I wanted to go over the global amino acid marketplace and where it is today. And one of the key storylines that I want to convey in this presentation is that the amino acid market, while it is growing, it's really a storyline that is less about the muscle and repair and recovery space, which is really popularized under the term BCAA or branched chain amino acid. And what is trending and really taken off is the functional claims of mental, cognitive, clarity, gut health. You're going to see some trends that I'll showcase in later slides that show how consumers are looking at their needs and their functional benefits, and also what's being commercialized and what's on trend. The overall market is growing in a double-digit clip and will continue to do so. However, it is moderately fragmented at this point, and the majority of the growth will be coming from the APAC region. If you key this in on the US specifically, you'll notice that while the majority of the innovation will come from the US, the growth and the acceleration will come from the international segmentation and marketplace. So let's start with consumer trends. Let's talk about what's happening right now in the space and how are people reacting in the space when it comes to looking at some of these formulations. I think it's really important to break this down into twofold: one, sentiment, and two, behavior. So if we look at it from the sentiment portfolio, you have a consumer who is now busier than they ever have been before. They're also getting less sleep, and there's simply not enough time in the day to do all the things that they're being tasked to do. We live in a very high demand society. And then those behaviors that stem from the sentiment are a demand for energy, and the demand for energy is at its all-time highest. It's really at a peak at this point and will continue to grow. You're noticing through trend in COVID and more work from home environments that people are adopting healthier lifestyles. That will continue to be the case. And then you're also going to notice, as we talk a little bit about the commercialization and the distribution aspect of the space, it's really the performance brands that are driving the growth. You know, you think about legacy brands, you think about heritage industry and what has really brought specialty distribution and our specialty retail partners to the forefront. That has been transcended by some of these newer category entrants and high performance brands. And we'll talk with a few examples on just how those performance brands are driving the growth. Taking a look at functional claims and what are the trends by functional claims, a couple key things will stand out for you. And there will be a few things that we'll want to dive a little bit deeper in later in some of the slides. The first thing is energy is through the roof. We mentioned that that's a behavior that's needed based on sentiment that's occurring in the marketplace today and from a consumer lens. You're also noticing that gut health, antioxidant health, brain and nervous system is trending. What is being dubbed as above the neck performance is really top of mind for the millennial audience, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. The immune system, while on this, because Mintel reported this back in 2019, was really a flat category. If we fast forward post-COVID, that category is trending at an astronomical rate, and I fully expect and anticipate immune health to be a highly sought after function statement moving forward. And then again, stress and sleep, really tying back to the sentiment of the consumer and what are the needs there. It gives you a pretty good glimpse as to what's occurred in the marketplace and what are the trends by functional claim over the last 4 or 5 years. Peeling it into functional ingredient by age is a really interesting portrayal from an ingredient perspective, because this will tie into a lot of the trends that you're seeing in the marketplace today. and not just in the amino space. I think this goes much broader than just the amino space, but caffeine is the most sought after functional ingredient right now in the marketplace. And you can also see very, very clearly that between the age groups of the 18 and 34 and even the 55, like they're pretty close to each other. So still a very high need and high demand for caffeine. You have vitamins and superfoods trending in a big way. And you're continuing to see kind of the rise of adaptogens, MCT oils, hemp-derived CBD. Those will continue to transform the space and provide scale with regulation tied to that very tightly. So the question then becomes, what does innovation look like in the amino acid space? And I wanted to highlight a couple key items and products that are kind of driving the trend, and less about the product, although these are product lines that are within our portfolio, just speaking on behalf of the Nutrabolt portfolio. But I also want to talk about some of the ingredients that are driving the trend and driving the performance benefits that are behind that. Because whether you're looking for an opening price point, offering within our sport line, or you're looking at a higher end offering of the C4 Dynasty, it's really the performance benefit that's driving the trend, that's driving the commercialization process. And all three of these items that are on this slide have highly sought after active ingredients, patent ingredients. We partner very closely with key partners like Compound Solutions to make sure that we have some of the best ingredients possible. And these are some of the ingredients that are really trending in the space. Some of the key items and key questions we get a lot on this side of the fence is, what are the amino acids that people are seeking out? What is trending and what should I commercialize? And if we look at it from a lens of, consumer need and sentiment and behavior, the energy category is the category that is an easy yes and an easy space to play. It's also a place where we have a massive right to win within the Nutrabolt portfolio under the brand of C4. The BCAA market, which we have several brands, Extend being the global leader, is a much more challenging and fragmented marketplace. And while it is becoming a more commoditized category, it is also less about muscle repair and more about overall health benefit. And that can stem from, adding ingredients such as peak O2, which can maximize power output and support oxygen intake. Or you could look at adding immune health, and you're seeing a rise in immune health, specifically coming out of the COVID, the COVID era right now. And as we continue further into next year, I think immune health will continue to be a trend that's very, very popular, continues to get commercialized. If you look on the energy side of it, though, there's a couple key ingredients that will continue to stand out well beyond our product portfolio here at Nutrabolt. I think dynamine and teacrine have a ton of staying power. They're highly sought after. They have over a dozen human trials. They're GRAS certified. They're also safe for sport. And I think as we continue to look at what's hot in the marketplace and what consumers are looking for, it's going to be imperative that the ingredients are clinically proven and effective, also safe for athlete usage. That will continue to be a very sought after trend. Lastly, we're going to focus on line extensions, how to capitalize on heroes. One of the key strategies we've executed here at Nutrabolt is rolling out a strategy called fewer, deeper, and bolder. And this has been across total MULO, across specialty, and it's really focused around being bold, but making less bets when you do, and focusing on the highest potential initiatives only, reducing the complexity and removing the noise, and giving your team and your people the opportunity and the resources to go out and make a great decision and be in the driver's seat. This is a strategy that a lot of retailers are also using. So I think from a brand perspective and a retailer perspective, there's a lot of synergies in how we execute this together, and it really will be the future state of how we partner at a high level. It's important to know that sustainable growth isn't an overnight process, though. It's a journey. It's going to take time. Most specifically, it's going to take discipline. The focus on the brand side needs to come around removing the complexity, and simplifying the strategy and providing clarity in execution. Discipline is the key here, and that comes from how we bring products to market, how we commercialize those products, to what the consumer experience is like, both inline and online. Discipline is going to be the key. Is the business world is full of temptations. They're continuing to pose a lot of newfound opportunities. There's always a new ingredient that's popping up. But what's most important in our space is to lean in with what's tried and true, lean in with science, make sure that it has certifications, and make sure that you can proudly display that badge of honor on the product so the consumer knows it's safe, effective, and it's also been tried. Lastly, I want to hit on what I believe to be one of the most important things from a distribution perspective, which is keeping it simple across the space in terms of how we think about product assortment, how we allocate new products to market. And as a brand who has an expansive portfolio, an expansive distribution network across Total MULO, we've learned a thing or two over time about what drives velocity, what consumers are asking for. And while taking those risks is a good thing because we learn along the way, one of the key learnings has been doing less with more and looking at what our core offering is and how we can do more with that core offering rather than building extensions just founded on new ingredient, new innovation, or new proposition. What we've learned is brand block placement drives the best velocities across the space. And that wouldn't just be true for our brand, would be true for all brands. If we look at IRI or if we look at Nielsen data, those brands that have brand block placement have faster velocities than those that don't. They also have the ability to tell a story built on science, built on safety and efficacy, but also built on brand. And that's the key, is to leave the consumer connected to the brand so that they understand how to take the product and become invigorated by the usage of taking those products. Thank you all for your time. Looking forward to your questions during our Q&A portion.